For our guests, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar, which is Bright Investments, Expert Insights into Solar Financing. Our special guests are Cristina Perez from Advantial and Mari Gonzalez from Sorian Credit Union. We'll dive into the details here in a moment. But before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce our agenda for the day. So we'll start off just talking about who Cape Fear Solar is for anyone who's not familiar yet. Then I'll pass it over to our guests to introduce themselves and their organization, some of the highlights of those credit agencies or credit tools, I should say, and how they might be able to benefit you as homeowners. We'll speak a little bit more in detail about solar financing basics, some of the things that folks should know and look out for, as well as common goals for solar financing and some of the many reasons why people ultimately choose financing for their tool to purchase and go solar on their home. And we'll finish our time off with Q&A. So I want to encourage anyone who has questions along the way, feel free to submit them. We'll try to get to as many of those questions as we can today during our time. So let's get started. So to start things off with who Cape Fear Solar Systems is, we've been in business now since 2007. We have over 4,500 installations and now over 60 employees. And we're right here in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina. But we serve about a 3-hour radius of Wilmington. So we go down into South Carolina and to Myrtle Beach area where we've got several customers all the way up to the Triangle and beyond. We are, of course, BBB accredited, and more than anything else, we feel that our reviews speak for themselves. And of course, we're community focused. And what that means is just that we pride ourselves in being the experts in what it looks like to go solar here in your region. We live in your region. All of our employees are here in your region. And so we know what it looks like to get permits, what it looks like to work with your utilities, what the process of going solar looks like, but also what it's going to mean for your bottom line. So we're going to be the source of being your local experts for those needs. I will go ahead and pass it along now to Cristina Perez, and she'll be speaking on who Advantial is.
Hi, so my name is Cristina Perez. I work for Advantial Federal Credit Union, and we are one of the financing partners with Cape Fear Solar Systems. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of background on Advantial, we're a credit union. We're actually headquartered out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we have several branches in several different states, including one of our newest branches that's in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so we offer one product for our financing. It is a credit card product. It is our Visa Rewards Plus card. It comes with a 0% intro APR that is available for 12 months. After that, the APR ranges from 9.9 to 16.9%. And that is truly a 0% interest period. It's not deferred. There's nothing accumulating during that period. There's no fee or anything like that or penalty to pay off the financing prior to the 12 months. So it's a really flexible financing option for you to have. Additionally, there's no minimum purchase amounts, and it is a Visa credit card. So even once you've paid down on your balance or once you've paid off, you now have our Visa Rewards Plus card that you can use anywhere Visa is accepted. There's no annual fee, foreign transaction fees, or penalty rates or over the limit fees. So it's a really low interest, low fee credit card to have that you can do some debt consolidation with later on down the line. But it's a really great product to have if you're interested in financing. If you are interested and are interested in the credit union product, then what will happen is when a Cape Fear Solar specialist is on site with you, they will provide you with either some information about our program as well as a QR code that is linked to a landing page or web page that has all the information that you'll need if you're interested in the program. And then there's also a link for you to access our online application. It is a short application that is both accessible on desktop as well as your mobile device or tablet. And it's just basic credit information that we'll need. So name, address, social security number, date of birth, things like that. Should take only about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and then that's submitted to us. And so we will contact you from that point going forward. And you can even use our branch once everything has been established. If you need to visit with someone to make payments or anything like that, you'll have a branch that's semi nearby that you can visit if needed.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Christina. And we've appreciated partnering with Advantial now. I guess it's been probably about almost a year.
Couple years,
Yeah, it's been great. And I think our partners have, our customers, I should say, have really enjoyed having a no fee option like that. That just makes it easier to make the choice to go solar. And we'll talk more about some of the specific reasons why people think that's a useful tool here in a moment. But now I'll go ahead and pass it over to Mari.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Gabe. So my name is Madi. I actually work with Sorin Credit Union. We are a long-standing credit union here based out of San Antonio, Texas. So unfortunately, we don't have a branch near North Carolina. However, in this digital day and age, we know banking can be done pretty much from anywhere. But we do offer financing in all 50 states. So, we're definitely in your area. We were established in 1952. We used to be Air Force Federal Credit Union, but just recently went through a name change. Just to kind of give you an idea, right, like of, as Christina mentioned, right, when you get a loan or some kind of product with a credit union, you essentially become a member. And that's what happens here, right? So if you were to utilize us for a loan through Cape Fear Solar, then you also become a member. And most credit unions, were member owned, so they tend to offer the lower rates. We do offer some no interest plans as well, promotional plans that range from 12 months all the way up to 72 months at 0% interest with a 9.99% interest post that on any remaining balance if you happen to not pay it off within that term. And then we also have longer term standard loans as well. So 10, 15, and 20-year loans, very low interest rates. You're looking at 6.99 percent for that timeline. As Gabe mentioned, I know he's going to talk about it in a little bit about why that might be valuable to some, but it's definitely a great option when you're financing a solar project. Let's see. I mean, I really don't know much of else to say. I know we're going to kind of get into the nitty-gritty in a little bit, and of course, I'll be here to answer any questions regarding any of those plans. We also do have a link, and thank you, Christina. You reminded me. I have QR codes as well. I have not shared that with you, Gabe. That's totally on me. But we do have QR codes, we have links. It's the same, sounds kind of like the same process. It's a very simple, 3-page application, just general personal information, to put in your application. And then once you get a decision, of course, we're here to walk you through any questions along the way. If you have any questions about your loan, if there's anything that Cape Fear may not be able to answer, we're here not only as a partner to them, but to you as well. Because like I mentioned, if you do get a loan through us, you become our member. And so any questions you might have, we absolutely can help out with that.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Mari. We definitely will get into some of the details here in a moment, but for now, we'll go ahead and move on to our next step, which is looking at the solar financing basics. So I'll touch on a couple things here for starters. And I think Christina and Mari both touched this pretty well. There's a variety of different terms available across the solar financing world. There are 12-month 0% interest terms like that of Advantials that are very straightforward, very simple and easy for consumers to digest and use, and they take advantage of. Some of the highlights of Advantials program, of course, is that you have access to that credit card thereafter. So it's a continued line of credit if you need it. As for some of the other options out in the world and in our offerings, there are term options as well. whether that's 10 years for a plan to be able to pay the system off pretty early, or a 25-year term that's more well aligned with the actual warranty of the system you're buying to give you a lower monthly payment. All of those options are available. And the vast majority of options really they're all zero down options as well. And so when you're using one of these tools, you don't have to worry about putting a bunch of money up front. They're really designed to allow you to claim those incentives, such as the federal tax credit, or pay as you go. And so when it comes to being incentive conscious, really what we mean there is just that a lot of times they're accounting for that tax credit. The reason a 12-month option at 0% interest is so great is because in our industry for these products you're purchasing, there's a 30% federal tax credit you're eligible, and sometimes additional incentives depending on your location and utility. And that just means that you have more time to go and claim those incentives before you have to come out of pocket for the entire system. Now, in other cases of financing, you may even have loan products like that with Sorian, where you have the ability to pay additional to principal later and then decrease and re-amortize what your monthly payment is going to be thereafter. And so if you are interested in a longer term option, but want to minimize what your monthly payment is going to be based on those incentives, then you have the ability to do that. And that just then applies as well to there being no prepayment penalty. So all of these solutions, if you pay them off early, you're not going to have to pay additional penalties, and you're in actuality just avoiding what interest there might be if that product has any. So that's something that our customers have enjoyed as well. And just to highlight that again, jumping into the common goals of solar financing, these are just some of the many reasons that people have ultimately chosen to not just go solar, but to finance the system that they're going solar. In some cases, despite being able to perhaps pay for the system in cash. And so we'll touch on those now, but the biggest is just being able to start saving right away. Obviously, there's a quick return on your investment if you're able to pay for it in cash and then starting to see those savings come back to you. But if you are able to utilize one of these financial tools, such as that of Advantial or Sorian, then you're able to start getting those lower utility bills without having had to lay out the cash up front. And that's something our customers have certainly enjoyed, the ability to start realizing those savings on their bills without realizing the pain on their pocketbook yet. And that flows right into being able to buy time to claim incentives. Instead of having to lay that cash out, you can buy the time to claim the federal tax credit, which is, again, 30% of the system costs. You can claim directly against your federal tax liability. For anyone here who's on Duke Energy, there's also the power pair incentive, where if you have not yet installed solar and you're looking to do so, there's up to $9,000 that you can get in the form of a cash check from the utility if you go solar with the battery. So that's just another incentive that you could expect to get back that you wouldn't have at the upfront purchase of your system, but you could have and pay towards your system if you were to use one of these financing tools. And that's just one example. In the state of South Carolina, there's other incentives as well. Now, the other big thing is you're able to protect yourself from inflation. For those of our customers who maybe would not have the ability to purchase one of these systems, we realize it's a significant investment. Maybe one of these shorter term options would not be helpful either. And you would need a longer term to be able to make the investment to go solar. That was certainly the case for me. I've got solar on my home. Then you certainly can take advantage of a 20 or 25-year term option that aligns with the warranty of your system, so you can have confidence that the system's going to be there producing as it needs to. But you're able to make the switch to solar and lock in your payment for that portion of your electricity, whereas otherwise utility costs are going to continue to rise, and had you not made that choice then your bill would otherwise continue to increase as well. And then, of course, as mentioned before, there's no prepayment penalties. So if you do utilize one of these options, whether it's the 12-month through Advantial or one of these other term options or mixed rate options through Sorian, then you can pay it off early and avoid any of that future interest that you could have otherwise incurred. Or in the case of the 12-month, just pay it off before the end of that 12 months. So those are some of the common goals of solar financing and the many reasons why people ultimately choose to use it. Now, one of the biggest questions that we get from there is, well, what can that look like for my bill? People often ask, when people celebrate their savings, oh, I had a $20 bill this month. Well, yeah, but what was your payment for the solar system? That's a common question that comes up. And one of the scenarios that people often use is a 20-year or 25-year loan option, where it's not uncommon that you might have a monthly payment for your solar that ultimately leaves a lower monthly electricity cost than prior going solar. Now, this is a scenario where you have an assumed tax credit being applied to the loan. And this loan, the way it works is they give you 15 to 18 months to go and claim the tax credit and pay it towards your principal before potentially re-amortizing if you don't do that to a higher monthly payment. However, a lot of our options, including those from Sorian, what they do is they assume that you're not going to apply the tax credit. So they give you the loan at the full value of the system, but you have the ability to take that tax credit and any additional incentives and apply it to principal there in the future and re-amortize your monthly payment accordingly. And so that way, when you do that, either way, you end up with a monthly payment that in some cases can be lower than what you were actually paying for electricity before. So it's just an example of how you can start saving right away, not just in your electricity bill, but after you apply what monthly payment you have to make for your solar as well. And this is just a continued example of what that looks like and the mechanism I just described of a Sorian loan, for example, where your initial monthly payment would be based on the full system size, the full system's cost, I should say. And then after, say, 15 to 18 months, you might apply the federal tax credit that you claimed and got back on your tax return, as well as any additional incentives that you might have received, and would find your monthly payment would then be much lower. And what that then does is makes it so your initial cash flow, which might have been below for the first year, crosses over, and all of a sudden you can see that over a period of 20 to 25 and even 30 years, your system is going to save tens of thousands of dollars on your electricity bill. All right, so we're going to jump right in here now to just a few questions I had that were common questions that we get from our customers for our panelists. So I will open up the floor for either of you to answer, but our first question is, what happens to my loan if I want to sell my home?
So I'll start. Again, this is a credit card product, so there's not a lien or anything tied to your home with our product. So your initial relationship will be with Cape Fear Solar Systems, and then once we've paid them on your behalf, at that point you'll have a credit card and you'll be a member with Advantial, and so you'll be making monthly payments to us. So if you sell your home and you still have your credit card with us and you're still paying monthly payments on your initial purchase, if you're able to take some of the proceeds from the sale of your home and apply them towards your credit card to either pay it off or pay it down, you can do that. And so that way you're no longer paying on the solar panels that you've put on that home that you just sold.
Yeah, so it's similar process here, being that we do have a loan, and for our secured loans, there are liens. When folks want to sell their home, they can include that in the sell of the cost of the sell of the home, and then use those proceeds, as Christina mentioned, to pay off any balance of that loan if they'd like. Or if the individuals that are purchasing the home want to assume that loan, they would just have to apply and qualify for the loan as if it was going to be their new loan.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's always a fun one that homeowners have. And
Absolutely.
the advice that we typically would give someone is, if you plan to be in your home for, say, 3, 4, 5 years, typically around that 5-year mark is when a solar investment has the opportunity to pay off while still reaping those additional benefits of additional value upon the sale. But to Mari's point, if you have a system you've just purchased in the last year, then sure, that might be an instance where you try to see if the homeowner might be willing to assume that loan. And so that's definitely helpful feedback. Thanks so much for sharing that, y'all.
Thank you.
The next one here is how long, and I think you both addressed this briefly, but roughly how long does the loan approval process take?
I'll go ahead and start. As we mentioned, the application process is pretty simple. Um, Once we get all the applicants' information, our underwriting team's going to take a good look at it. They're going to verify home ownership. And usually, we hope that it doesn't take as long as 30 minutes, but 30 minutes or less, that also gives us an opportunity if there's any additional information we may need from the applicant, whether that be verification of income, or maybe they happen to have a credit freeze on their accounts with the credit bureaus. And so we're unable to kind of see their credit from the get-go. So usually on average, it's 30 minutes or less once we get the submission to kind of verify those things. And in most cases, as long as once an underwriter picks it up, it can be processed within 10 minutes usually. So.
Yeah, our process is really similar to that as well. So we do have the potential for automatic approvals on our application. So like I mentioned before, our application usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out. And then from there, you'll see one of two screens. It'll either be an approval screen that will lay out the terms of the financing for you. It'll show you what your rate is after the 0% interest period, as well as how much you've qualified for. Or the other possible screen will be, a screen that says, thank you for applying. Someone will be in contact with you shortly. If you do see that screen, that means it has been routed to our lending department for our underwriters to look at as well. We usually give them within about an hour, I would say, to make a decision. A lot of times it's much quicker than that, just kind of depends on the time of day as well as the volume that we're receiving. But it's a very simple, easy process. And then we have actual representatives from a branch that will reach out to you to let you know what the decision is, how much you've qualified for, what your rate is, all of that good stuff. And then we email and mail everything to you as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Christina. And I see we've got a couple questions coming in. So we've got just one more here, I think, on our end, and then we'll open those up for our panelists. But if I already have solar, can I finance the installation of a battery only?
Yeah, again, so with ours, since it's a credit card, we don't really ask what it is that you are applying for. We just ask how much you would like to apply for, and then all of your credit history. So we take a look at all of that. We'll approve you for as much as we can possibly approve you for. And then from there, we'll just ask Cape Fear to submit documentation to us for your purchase so that we can see the total amount that's owed. And then we pay Cape Fear directly on your behalf. And then you'll receive your card in the mail 7 to 10 business days later. So you can use additionally that card for any other purchases that you may need. So if later on down the line, there's something else that you need, you have your new credit card that you can continue to use if there's an available balance.
And same with us, you absolutely can finance the installation of a battery only with us. As Christina mentioned, you're going to work directly with Cape Fear. You'll figure out what work you're wanting to have done, what products you're going to be using, and then you will submit that for a loan with us. Same thing, once we get all your credit criteria, we can definitely, see if the loan can be approved, but it can be for a standalone battery as well. Any additional work, we do offer not just solar and battery, but we also do traditional home improvement as well. I know that that's not what Cape Fear offers, but just an FYI, so absolutely you can finance the installation of a battery only with us.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, y'all. We'll jump right in here. We've got a couple quick questions from our guests. And so the first one, Christina, do you mind if I pass to you? Maybe you can elaborate briefly on the balance transfer and that 3% fee and how that applies or doesn't to their original purchase with solar.
Yeah, so that doesn't apply to this original purchase. This is for later on down the line, now that you have the Visa Rewards Plus card. If you'd like to do some debt consolidation or anything like that, once you've paid off your balance, there is a 3% balance transfer fee at that point. So anything up front that's not going to be applied to this, there's no cost to the customer at all to be able to take advantage of our program. We don't charge any fees or anything like that. So that's not something that they have to worry about for this first initial purchase.
Perfect. Thank you. Now here's a question from Terry, and this is something I can certainly answer. Does Santee Cooper Utilities in South Carolina have any incentives to install a solar system? So that's a fantastic question. Santee Cooper is an electric utility in the Myrtle Beach and Conway area of South Carolina. They do have an incentive program for folks interested in going solar. So we encourage you to reach out and speak to our team about what that program looks like exactly. But as I understand it, it's about up to $5,700 that they could expect in the form of a rebate from their utility. There's also additional incentives in the form of state incentives from the state of South Carolina. So certainly reach out to our team and our project developer, Caleb, who handles all of our projects in South Carolina. He's the expert on exactly what that could look like for you. Next question here, does Cape for Solar offer a discount for cash purchase if you don't use financing? That's a good question, Keith. Because of programs like Christina's and Mari's, most of the programs that they offer don't have any fees whatsoever to us or to you as the consumer. So because that's the case, there's often no fee that we have to build into our financing or our pricing, and therefore have to try to pass along to you. Now, there are some programs that are particularly attractive, for instance, like an 18-month promotion offering from Sorian. And this month only, we're actually waiving any fees associated with an option like that so that we can pass along the best deal we can to our customers. So tricky question there. I already have solar, so how can I get financing on my existing solar without paying a 3% balance transfer fee?
Keith, would you mind sending me your information? I'll have to do, we'll have to figure out kind of a different way of doing things for that. So if you want to send me your information and I can reach out to you directly, and we can put you in touch with some of our branch representatives, I'm sure we could work something out to get that, still get you the 0% interest for 12 months and not have you pay that 3% balance transfer fee.
Perfect. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I do just want to take a moment to say thank you so much to Christina from Advantial and Maricela from Sorian, and say thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to sharing this with any of our additional customers or prospects out there who have been looking into solar and been looking for tools like this to help make it possible for them. So thanks again. For anyone who has been tuned in today and just curious about what might be going on that they could take advantage of, we do have a special promotion going on this month where, again, the 18-month option with Sorian is available. I'm interested in trying to take a look and see if it's a good fit for you. Thanks again, and everyone have a great rest of your evening, and tune in next time for our next webinar.
Thank you, Dave.
You.
See y'all later.